As I sat alone in the dimly lit living room, a chill ran down my spine. The ticking of the antique grandfather clock echoed through the house, drowning out the sound of the pouring rain outside. I had just moved into this old, creaky Victorian house a week ago, and something about it always felt off. Tonight, the unease was stronger than ever. Shadows danced eerily across the walls, and every creak of the wooden floorboards sent shivers down my spine. I tried to dismiss my paranoia as mere jitters from being in a new place, but deep down, I knew something wasn't right. I decided to take refuge in the warmth of my bedroom, but as I climbed the creaky staircase, I heard faint whispers in the darkness. My heart raced, and I couldn't make out any words, just an eerie, guttural murmur. The hairs on the back of my neck stood on end. Reaching my bedroom, I closed and locked the door behind me. My heart pounded, and my hands trembled as I turned on the bedside lamp. The reassuring glow of the light briefly calmed my nerves. I sat on the edge of my bed, trying to convince myself that it was just my imagination playing tricks on me. But then I saw her. A pale, translucent figure appeared at the foot of my bed. Her long, dark hair hung like a curtain, obscuring most of her face. She wore a tattered, white dress that seemed straight out of another century. My voice caught in my throat as I tried to scream, but no sound came out. The ghostly woman slowly drifted closer, her hollow eyes fixed on me. I could see the sadness and longing in her gaze. She reached out her ethereal hand, and a cold breeze swept through the room, making me shiver. With great effort, I finally managed to find my voice. "Who are you? What do you want?" The ghostly woman didn't respond with words, but instead, she pointed to the antique vanity on the other side of the room. I turned to look, and there, in the mirror, I saw a reflection that made my blood run cold. Behind me, in the mirror's reflection, stood a sinister figure with a twisted grin. His eyes gleamed with malice, and he raised a knife high above his head. Before I could react, he lunged at me. I jolted awake, covered in sweat, and gasping for breath. It was just a nightmare, vivid, horrifying nightmare. But the fear still lingered, and the images of the ghostly woman and the sinister man haunted my thoughts. Unable to shake off the feeling of dread, I decided to investigate the history of the house the next morning. To my shock, I discovered that a murder-suicide had occurred in this very house decades ago. A woman had been brutally murdered by her husband, who then took his own life. The ghostly woman I had seen must have been the murdered wife, and the sinister man in my nightmare was likely her husband. Their restless spirits were trapped in this house, forever reliving the horrors of that fateful night. As days turned into weeks, the paranormal activity in the house escalated. I couldn't ignore it any longer. I had to leave. The house had become a nightmare in itself, and I feared that I might become another victim of its haunting history. I packed my belongings and never looked back, leaving the chilling horrors of that old Victorian house behind me.